welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today we are going to be talking about diatonic chord qualities. And now, what in the world does this mean? Diatonic meaning of the scale, and chord qualities, well, meaning qualities of the chords that we're going to be using. And again, this is going to be a basic overview of everything that I'm going to be talking about today. But I want to start off by talking about diatonic. Now, what does this mean? Every scale that we're going to be talking about today has 7 tones to it, and these can be referred to in scale degrees. That's what the little hat is that you see: scale degree 1, scale degree 2, scale degree 3, and so on. All of these have specific names. Scale degree 1 being named the tonic, the tone. This is going to be the basis of our scale. 2 being the supertonic, above. 3, the medians, the middle. 4, the subdominant, under the dominant, which I guess you can assume what 5 is going to be, the dominant. All of these will have specific meanings, but again, we'll get back into this later. 6, the submedians. This is kind of be seen because these would be split into major minor chords, and again, we're going to get back into this, and there's a lot of reasons of why 6 is called the submedian. It's kind of out there, but you can look that up on your own. The 7th has 2 specific names. The first name that it can be given is the subtonic, which again, if you were thinking about this in a loop, 7 would be under 1 because it goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, you know. So this can be called the subtonic. But usually in, again, Western music, we're going to be calling it the leading tone because it's going to be exactly 1/2 step away from the tonic scale degree. Now, again, I know what you're thinking. This is all a lot of jumbo, and we're going to get back into it. But again, just the leading tone. If I can leave you with something, just never forget it. Please, don't forget about the leading tone. Now, chord qualities. There are a few specific types. There are major, minor, diminished, and augmented chords. Now, how can we defer this and how can we write these chords? If I were to draw a scale and say just take a basic C major triad, the tones of this are C, E, G. You can split this up. Now I'm going to draw a little piano. Maybe this might be helpful for some. I like to visualize things a little bit more tactilely. This is also a really good way to check your intervals and just ways to do this. I draw this on all of my theory things when I'm trying to figure out something. If I was to go from C to E, that is 4 half steps. If I was to go to E to G, that is 3 half steps. You could also call this 2 whole steps. You could also call 3 half steps 1.5 whole steps. There are other names for this. C to E is also a major third, and E to G is a minor third. When you take these, I'm going to show you on the staff actually, a minor third stacked on top of a major third. Again, a major third with a minor third stacked on top of it. When you add these together, you get a sonority that can be called a major triad. Triad being a 3-note chord. There are 4-note chords, but right now we're just talking about the 3 to keep everything simple. Now, what if we were to change these ratios around and start messing with the intervals of whole steps and half steps and how things are stacked on top of each other? If I were to take this next little piano and instead of counting 4 and 3 half steps, I count 3 half steps, leading me to E flat from C, and from E flat, counting 4 half steps up to G, 1.5 whole steps or 2 whole steps. You can now see that C to E flat is a minor third and E flat to G is a major third. How does this make things different? The sonority, as you can hear, is a little bit different. With a major third, stacked on top of a minor third, you get a minor triad. As you can see, an E flat was added, an accidental was added to change the ratios and how things are stacked on top of each other, and that changes the sounds of things. Now, if we were to take it a step further, and since we've kind of mixed up our 2 options of minor and major, what if, hear me out, I know this is kind of crazy, we just had the same type of third stacked on top of each other. Say we were to go to C and we had 3 half steps or a minor third, and then we ended up at E flat, and you do another minor third. You end up at G flat. C to E flat is a minor third, E flat to G flat is a minor third. Ooh, sounds a little bit spooky, right? Well, you can also think of minor as a little sad, but I would prefer if you thought of these in intervals and mathematically. It helps a little bit keep everything back together. Anyway, back on track. Minor third plus a minor third equals a diminished triad. That is why it sounded a little bit different. It's a little bit different than anything we've heard so far. Now, these are the 3 main things that show up, again, diatonically, the main point of our lesson. But for poops and laughs, let's just show you what happens if we take the opposite, right? C to an E is a major third, and an E to a G sharp is another major third, 4 half steps stacked on 4 half steps. Again, I'm showing you here, C to E, E to G sharp. Major third plus a major third equals a augmented triad. Again, a little bit spooky, a little bit off, but this one doesn't show up naturally in our scale. What I'm writing here are certain labels that you can use for these. Capitals are usually used for major, and lowercase m with a little line on is used for minor. A circle or a degree sign is used for diminished, and a plus sign is used for augmented. Yes, you can use dim and aug for these things, but I think it is better and easier to use the circle and the plus for things. Why does all this matter? Because of function, baby, and we're going to get back to that. But for now, we'll go back to diatonic, and what does that really mean? Again, we could talk about these in the scale degrees with the names, or we can think about it in solfege. I like to think about this. I'm a singer by heart, so do, re, mi, and sol, la, ti, do is all this, so much easier for me. But scale degrees really does help, especially when we're dealing with a lot of different accidentals. So right here, you have a C major scale, and I labeled them with the scale degrees again, C major scale. If we were to take this, and again, C major, let's make a C major triad. We have a major third stacked with a minor third on top, and that would be C major stacked on scale degree 1. Now, if we were to start on scale degree 2 and stack into thirds diatonically from the scale, getting these notes from the scale, but still stacking in thirds, you can see that starting on scale degree 2 or D, you have an D, an F natural, and an A natural. And if you were to take the half steps and whole steps of these, you would see that this is a minor third with a major third stacked on top, and when you put them together, you get a minor triad. So the triad starting on scale degree 2 is a D minor triad. So up here, I'm going to label it as such, a D minor triad. Contrasting again with the C major triad made on scale degree 1. Now, if we were to keep going down the line, just for extra practice, if we were to start on scale degree 3, in a different color this time, and you were to take, again, stacking in thirds from the diatonic scale, you are going to have an E, a G natural, and a B natural. Again, if you were to count the half steps and the whole steps, you'll see it's similar to the D minor triad, and you're going to end up with a minor third stacked with a major third for an E minor triad. This E minor triad, again, is starting on scale degree 3. And if you can stack all of these triads, again, diatonically from the scale, and you can keep going all the way up. And you can see that the first and the last are going to match up, obviously, because it's scale degree 1. And if you were to count all of the little half steps and the whole steps and all the thirds and see everything, this is the pattern that you would be left with. C major, D minor, E minor, F major, G major, A minor, and B diminished chord. All of these, again, stacked from the scale degrees of the diatonic scale. These can be given little labels called Roman numerals. As you can see, these are numbers correlating to the scale degrees, but also representing the quality of the chord seen in the diatonic scale. So you could have a minor 1 or a major 3 or a minor 4. These are just examples, but for a major scale, these are going to be the Roman numerals associated with this. Now, just to show that this is the same for all major scales, let's take a new scale, and maybe let's do E flat major, starting on E flat all the way back up to E flat. And if we were to take a major triad in E flat major starting on E flat, again, all the accidentals would carry, so you have a major triad. When moving to scale degree 2, again, diatonically, you are going to have an A flat. If you were to have an A natural, you can see how the ratios would be a little bit different. You would have an F to an A natural, which would be a major third, and then an A natural to a C, which would be minor, which would lead you to have a major triad, which would lead to a major 2. From our C major triad, does this look the same? No, it doesn't look the same. And you can kind of use this formula to kind of guess and check, or not guess and check, but check yourself and make sure that you're on the right track. If we were to change this to an A flat like it is supposed to be diatonically, again, within the scale of E flat major, you can see that the ratios will be a little bit different, leading to us to have a minor triad, leading us to have a minor 2, which, yes, does match up with what we had originally proven in the C major scale. If we were to pause here and you took your favorite minor scale and you tried to do this same thing, diatonically taking all the things, you would end up with something looking like this. A little bit different than what we have in our major scale. So let's dive into this. In the minor world, let's say we take A minor. It's the same bones, same key signature as our C major from before, our original scale. But instead, we start on A. So A is considered scale degree 1, B scale degree 2, C scale degree 3, and so forth, on and so forth. And again, if we were to stack thirds and make triads based off of the scale degrees, diatonically, not adding anything extra or changing anything, the ratios, then you can see that we start off with an A minor triad with a minor third stacked on top of a major third, and you can label that as a minor 1 with your Roman numeral analysis. For our second scale degree, you can see that as a B natural to a D natural and an F natural, which, again, minor third stacked on a minor third is going to be a diminished third, something we haven't seen this early on in the scale. But this is completely normal. This is how minor scales are going to be. And if you took another minor scale, you can see that these Roman numeral analysis would be the same exact thing. And it's kind of interesting that we end up with a minor 5. As you can see, I almost messed up. Yeah, again, these chord qualities are going to be a little bit different than minor, or than the major scale, excuse me. Now, why does all this matter? We come back to the word function. Yes, I said function. Okay, not a party, but the function of these chords and their qualities. And I told you we come back to it, and ding, 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 here it is, the leading tone. The 7th scale degree can be called the subtonic or the leading tone, whether or not it's a whole step or a half step away from the next preceding tonic. In this case, G to A is a whole step, but what? That's not a leading tone, that's a subtonic. How do we fix that? By making it a G sharp, making the interval smaller, making it a half step. This G sharp is going to travel its way through the rest of the scale, and as you can see, it's going to affect some other things, some other ratios. Right now, we have an E, a G natural, and a B, but what if we were to make it a G sharp, the leading tone? Now the ratios have changed, and now we have a major triad, making this a major 5 and a dominant functioning chord. Again, the word function. Now, let's move over to my little handy scale. We're back in C major. All of the triads have been made diatonically again, and we're going to go back to these fun little names, remember, we gave at the beginning to all the scale degrees. Well, the Roman numerals kind of also have these names. 1 and all of the beginning on the left side column are not the only chords that are going to fall into this, but 1 being our tonic, like our first scale degree, is going to give us a sense of home, the chord that we want to always come back to. 5, like I said, is going to have a dominant function. What does this mean? It's prepping us to go home. Say we're packing our bags, we're getting our phone, making sure we have our keys, we're ready to get home. We can almost see it on the car ride maybe. 4 is the predominant. I know 4 scale degree is called the subdominant because that's under, but pre meaning preceding. This is like us cruising, like thinking about seeing the time, we only got an hour left, maybe we should start thinking about getting home. Now, again, like I said before, 1, 5, and 4 are not the only chords that are going to fall into these functioning. There are a lot of other chords and a lot of gray area for a lot of these chords. These are, the chords on the right are kind of like the basic ones that are going to fall into these functioning things. And as I write in my Roman numeral analysis for all the chords that you're going to see above, again, just following the diatonic scale, why does all this matter? Because we listen to music, and without the leading tone, we would have no sense, no pull to home, no prep to home. And music is all about the predictability and the feeling of the flow and the energy that you're trying to make. And if you're trying to end a piece, a leading tone can be really useful. Yes, you can do different things like end on a 6 because it still has, you can see the scale degree 1 built into that chord. But for Western music and tonal music, we are going to really be looking for this 5-1. Because of this leading tone and strong pull and prep to our sense of home. Why does all this matter? Because when we're writing music and things, we should be trying to think of how can we make a complete story with our music. Right here, I'm going to make you a little flow chart kind of following some of the chords that I used above in the right column. As you can see that they're going to kind of follow this tonic functioning, moving to a predominant functioning chords, moving to a dominant functioning chords, and overall wrapping back up somewhere hitting a tonic. I pointed directly to 1, but again, all of these chords can be mixed and matched. It's just kind of the basic idea of tonic, predominant, dominant, and that's always going to be flowing around. There's certain chords that you can and cannot go to, specifically I'm going to point out that you can't just have a diminished 2 going anywhere specifically. There are certain rules, and I hope in the next video that I make, I'll be able to go through those specifically, but I hope this gave you a basic overview of function chord qualities and just what it means to be diatonic. Thank you for watching, and I hope that you can find some useful tips in this for your basic composing and your counterpoint lessons. Thank you for watching, and happy composing!